All right, I assume this is running. Here we go, another installment of a wonderful Burke video. We're going to examine the edit window today. Previously, we looked at our Pro Tools mix window. So this was our mix window. Today, we are going to look at our edit window and take a look at a few things on here. What's inside the edit window for you guys? Primarily, what is here for you guys? Morgan.
Never mind.
Cass.
Some little tools, you can cut things, move things. You're gonna like enable your tracks to like record and stuff like that. You have all your tracks right there.
Inside of our edit window is all of the waveforms that we're using. If we want, once we record something, we may want to edit it or move it around. There's a lot of tools in here that we'll use typically. A lot that we take for granted. So we're going to start by going across the top panel here. There are tons of tools available for you to use. So we're going to start right here by examining these tools right here at the top. They are our editing tools. You may want to write these down in your notebook. Some of them are great. Some of them will breeze through. What is the first tool right here? It's got a magnifying glass. How do we actually identify the real name of this? You just hover over it. What is it called? It's our zoomer tool. What does the zoomer tool do? If we click on it, it just zooms in. So if we click on the zoomer tool, all it does is let us zoom in and zoom out. How do we go the opposite way with the zoomer tool? If we hold the button Option, right on your keyboard, you'll see that zoomer tool turns into a negative. So if we have it in the negative by holding Option, it zooms out. Otherwise, it's just typically zooming in. Just hold Option and it will go the opposite way. To zoom in, all you do is click. All you do is click the button. Point in an area and click. To zoom out, you can hold what button? Option, and it'll zoom out. Just so you know, let's just start right there. That zoom tool is very easy. If we hold down on it, it says normal zoom or single zoom. There are alternate tools right here wherever you see drop downs. If we go to single zoom, what it does is it will zoom once and then go back to the last tool you had selected. Now with the zoomer tool, I think you will never use it. I do know people that use the zoomer tool. I don't think you will use it. Why? Because I have command and brackets. Who else is going to say that? Possibly raise your hand. We have a shortcut already known as zooming in and out right here. It's command and brackets. So you may not even use that tool. I do see people that still use it after 10 years of using Pro Tools. All right, let's just keep moving along. What's the next tool? You can hover over it again and see the actual name. In the back there, Julian. It's the trimmer tool. It's called the trim tool or the trimmer tool. We're not going to look at its other features right now. But when you go get your hair cut, or you go to your stylist, maybe, I don't know how you say it. But when you get a trim, what do? They just take the ends off. A little bit of the ends off when they trim. What do you think trim does here? All it does, and if you watch my tool on the screen, some of you, Julian, watch. If you trim, it only does the beginning, and then watch my tool, Kyle. When I go halfway is when the trim tool, when I'm halfway, is when it switches. And all it's letting you do is trim the ends. Literally, it's saying right here, if I wanted to, I could just trim that much of the end. If you got a haircut and you want to ask for a trim and they took that much off, you may be mad. That is a lot. You'd probably want to start at the edge. So the trim tool only lets you take audio off of the beginning or end of waveforms. I'm not even going to give you advanced features. I just showed you before that some of these tools have advanced features. I don't think you will utilize them for where you guys are at or need to be. So we have the trim tool. Again, what does the trim tool do, Kenny? It just does what? Can the trim tool cut in the middle of the waveform? No. Can the trim tool cut up to the middle of the waveform?
Yes.
Yes, technically, the way I asked that, yes. What's the next tool? Kyle. Kyle, third time. Put your mouse, hover over it, it will pop up the name. It's okay, it's now the third time.
Selector tool.
It is called the selector tool. Just one thing we all just learned. Moving the mouse and hovering over a button will tell you what it is. The selector tool. What is the selector tool that you do, Julian? Julian Freeman. Yeah, well, that was a great way to say it. It lets you select part of a waveform or part of multiple waveforms. So the selector tool lets you select and highlight part of one waveform or part of multiple waveforms. See a lot of people writing, so I'm going to wait until you're done writing, and then I'm going to show you some cool things that you can do with it, I guess. Yes?
So what does it do exactly? Like, I don't understand.
All the selector tool does is let you select and highlight a region of audio. Seems pretty straightforward. If you highlighted something, now that I have the selector tool and it looks like most of you guys have written, I can go like this here. I can just take the selector tool. I may show you 1,000 things that I do with the selector tool right now. I might take the selector tool, highlight a region. I might hold shift and go, I need that region also. I might highlight multiple regions with shift. I'm holding shift and it's selecting multiple areas. I can highlight multiple areas and hold shift and alter the beginning of it. And I can even hold shift and alter the end of it. I can use I can use the selector tool to highlight areas that I would want to delete. I can use the selector tool to highlight multiple tracks of dead space. Do I really need the trim tool? No, I'm using the selector tool, and what key am I hitting? Delete. So I can use my selector tool. Right here is a great example of where I could have used the trim tool, but I'm just going to use the selector tool to delete that. If I want to bounce down a song, some of us might go like this, like highlight the whole area. I can double click a region with the selector tool and highlight an area of exactly what I want to bounce down, which we will get more into in the future, but whatever I have highlighted or selected from left to right is what's going to get bounced down. So yeah, double clicking on a region with the selector tool highlights it. We can highlight a certain region. We can hold shift and highlight multiple regions. We can hold shift and change our boundaries. So you can play around with that for a second while we're playing with the selector tool. Can you pause recordings? No. The audio regions? Yeah, your bounce region. Whatever you have highlighted is known as your bounce region. So in a review, we have the zoom tool. I may never use the zoom tool because I can do command brackets. but we can zoom in by clicking and we can zoom out. We have our trim tool, which just takes off the beginnings and ends of waveforms. Now we got up to the selector tool, which the selector tool to me is the first important tool. The zoom, I don't really use. The trim, I have used, but I don't have to use it. The selector tool is my first major tool, one that I use and rely on a lot. Another one that I use a lot is this next tool right here. What is the hand tool? It's the, hey, I need a high five tool. Known as the what, Janessa? It's the grabber tool. Well, if we hold down on that, we can see separation, time, and objects. Right now, it's currently saying this is the grabber tool. It'll let us move things around in time. What does the grabber tool do? Pretty straightforward. The grabber tool lets us grab audio regions and move them around. Or, now known in Pro Tools, audio clips, as of newer versions of Pro Tools. The grabber tool literally only does what? It grabs the recording so you can move it.
Oh, so that's what you did too. Okay.
Very simple tool, but we need it. Okay, this tool, this next tool, we're making a video, so I want to make it short and precise. You are all going to laugh at this next tool. You will all want to spend 5 minutes playing around with this tool. I get it. I will let you do it at the conclusion of this video. But this next tool is called the what tool. It looks clearly like a what? It looks like a speaker. What is it called?
A scrubber tool.
It's the scrubber. Does anybody know what the scrubber does?
Does it meddle with the sound?
All it does, Kyle, is this. Everybody's going to want to do this in a minute, but all it does is scrub when you click and hold on the sound. Why is this not? Something must be soloed. Oh, the volume is down.
It is because everything is.
So all the scrubber tool does for you is up. That one's down as well.
So that's kind of like how it, like,
It's like pardon? It's like scratching a record. This scrubber tool right here is just something people use in the audio industry to be able to hear what audio artifacts are. Like, is this an S right here? It literally, it's telling me where the sound starts. Is that just audible noise in the background? Is that an S? Is that a breath that I want? That's what the scrubber tool helps us do. Yeah, and then we use the other tools to manipulate the audio, if you want to say it that way.
So it allows us to pinpoint like directly what we're hearing.
It just lets you cue in, we'll say it this way, it lets you cue in on a track so that you can hear that sound. Let me go back and I'll turn up, God bless you. Let me go back and I'll just play kick right now. Here's a kick drum. That's really, that's all it does is let you listen to sound. Really all it does. God bless you again. Claps. Bass. Yeah, some things sound really cool backwards. All right. Now we have, those are the tools we've covered. And the last one right here is known as the pencil tool. Are you guys ever going to use the pencil tool? Probably not. I will just give you maybe an example of when you may use the pencil tool. Look up here on the screen because you'll probably never use the pencil tool. We'll take a look in a minute. When we zoom in on the pencil tool, as soon as you zoom in as far as you can go on the sound wave, the pencil tool gives you the ability to literally redraw scientific waveforms. Why? That's a great question. Sometimes you will just see a harsh tick noise in sound. So sometimes we can use this tool to round it off just for like removing tick noises or blemishes. Consider it like Adobe Photoshop and you're just removing pixels of bad photos.
So kind of like the equalizer for little areas of the recording, like instead of the entire sound.
Yeah, instead of the entire sound, you're just doing that. If you click on this tool, there's like 7 or 8 different pencil styles. What else can we do for the, I apologize for mumbling. What else can we do with the pencil tool? Not that you will do it, but I will run you through it really quick. I can look at a lead vocal right here. And if I wanted to, I'm looking at the waveform. I can look at the volume of that track. I could draw it to go up or down for certain parts. I could also change the pan. Julian, are you watching this? Because you can change the pan and bring it to the left speaker and then draw it down to the right speaker. And then you could draw it back to the center. And I'll just play this vocal track right here and show you what we did.
And treat you right.
See,
I wanna love you every day and every night.
So if I play it again, you're seeing the pan from left to right there, and there's the volume.
That's another thing that you can use for the pencil thing?
Yes. Now, right now, I'm looking at the lead vocal, and on the left here, I had chosen to manipulate the volume or the pan. Now I go back to what you guys have always seen, the waveform. You have never seen more than the waveform. And you've been able to record productions. So it's not like you cannot record by not knowing that. That's one point I want to make. Does anybody have any questions right now? That is exactly how you start to do it. So we have these tools at the top. What are the 5, 6 tools at the top here? What's the first one?
Zoom tool.
Zoomer. What does it do? Go ahead.
You click to zoom in.
Zooms in. How do we zoom out on the zoomer tool? Kenny. Option. Julian, what is this next tool here? What does that trim do? Great. We'll call it an audio clip. We'll start to say Pro Tools terms. They call them audio clips. What's this next one right here? Senor. Augustine. What is this one right here? This one is, I'm going to say this. Augustine, this one is the number one most important one to me. This tool. What is it? Cass. Go ahead, Cass. It's the selector tool. If you don't know what the tool is called, how do you find out, Augustine? You just hover over it, and it'll tell you it's the selector tool. Selector tool I need all the time. What does it let us do? Anybody want to define the selector tool a little bit? Tell us a little bit about it. Augustine, for redemption. Yeah. If I wanted to select here, I wanted to select over here. If I want to extend this region, what button do I hit? Janessa. Shift. Shift, and I can extend that side. Augustine, if I want to extend the region on this side, what do I hit? Shift, and I can then click and change the region boundaries. Julian in the back, if I wanted to now take this selection I have right here, if I wanted to grab the exact same selection here, what button do I hit? While I click. Kyle?
Shift.
Yeah, shift. If I wanted not this track, but I wanted this track also, what button do I hit? Morgan. Shift.
Wait, how do you like? So how like what do you do like besides hitting shift? What else do you? Do?
I'm just clicking with the selector tool.
Do you click twice or do you?
Just hold shift and click once. Sir.
Now go to the data about skipping.
Yes.
What about skipping the track?
Shift.
Okay,
Here, ready? Highlighted region. Holding shift and click. Holding shift and click.
no, the other one is just.
I'm still holding shift. I'm just holding shift. Just holding shift. Just holding shift. There's a lot you can do right there with just that selector tool. You all have laptops in front of you in case you want to dabble with this a little bit while we're going through. What's wrong? What's the grabber tool? Well, you just bring your mouse right there and hold shift and click. Yeah. Kyle just did it, but how do you select an entire audio region? I want to select this entire kick drum region. What do I hit? Double click.
What were you saying about double clicking to bounce or bounce the region?
When you if we double click, it'll highlight the entire region there. And then sometimes I may extend the end of the song and take away, still using shift, take away some of the beginning. And just adjust my highlighted regions so that when I go to bounce the song down, what is highlighted is what bounces down. So with this selector tool, maybe I didn't mention it before, maybe I did, but I can take out certain parts of this track. If you look up here, I can take out that section, I can take out this section, this section. Now I have like 5 or 6 audio regions here. If I double click on one of them, it will highlight it. If I double click on one of them, it'll highlight it. Perhaps you guys want to try this right now. You can just do exactly what I did. You can highlight regions and delete a couple so that you have 3 or 4 different regions right there. Now if I double click, it will select a region. What do you think triple clicking does? Let's try it. 1, 2, 3. Wow. Selector tool is pretty fun. Triple click if you have 5 regions. Did you guys try that? Try to grab any audio file. Just select some areas and cut it apart. Cut some of that region apart. Highlight it and then you can hit delete. Highlight something and hit delete. Highlight something and hit delete. Now you have 1, 2, 3, 4 regions. If you double click a region, one of the audio clips, it'll highlight it, or double click that one. If you triple click 1, 2, 3, it'll get all of them.
How do we undo that?
I'm sorry?
Command Z.
How do we undo? Command Z.
Okay.
Best friend, honestly.
Now, right now is a great time to show you a little cute lesson trick that earned you a little star on the right side of your notebook. Augustine. We've been playing around with this session, moving tracks, deleting things, doing whatever. We don't want to save this. So I'm telling you right now, if all of us together, we go to File. All of us together, we go to File. And if we go to File and we go Revert to Saved, if everybody goes to File and Revert to Saved, this will open back up the original session without anything that we manipulated. So that means that we can all go into our edit window, use these tools to experiment, and close the session without ruining it. Raise your hand if that's helpful. When else are you guys allowed to destroy things and then just hit a button and everything is back to normal? Never. That's called not real life.
Why you like audio? It's the impossible.
Yeah, we make the impossible possible in audio. So moving along on this review, we have the hand tool. What does the grabber tool do? Morgan.
It allows you to move around audio clips.
It allows you to move audio clips around. Okay? That's all it does. What does the speaker do? What is the speaker known as? Fiona, what's the speaker known as? It's the scrubber. And what does it do? Morgan.
It cues in on the sound.
And lets us cue in on the sound and audition it or listen to it. All the scrubber tool does is let us listen to audio files. Now this last tool, I don't know if I did a great job explaining it because I'm not trying to make it too in-depth right now. But what does the pencil tool do? What did you gather from me saying that the pencil tool does? Fiona, Kenny, then Janessa. Go ahead, Fiona. It lets me redraw a waveform. Look, right now I cannot use the pencil. Do you agree?
Yes.
You can tell I cannot use the pencil until I zoom in as much as possible. And I'm still not zoomed in enough. And once I zoom, oh, now I can redraw my waveform. Because it gets colored. Yeah, usually it's grayed out. So Fiona says we can draw in on the waveform. Kenny, do you want to add something? We can use it to do creative mix techniques, like panning from left to right speaker, or make the volume go up and down. How many, let's just throw it out there. When we did Hannah's recording session, some of her vocals were quieter, then some of them got louder. We would be able to go in with the pencil tool, and they call it automation. We could automate her fader to go down as she sang louder. It would have. There are many answers. You are correct. Now I need to show you guys this guy right here, the smart tool. That's what they call Mr. Burke, the smart tool. How many tools are inside the smart tool?
3.
Wrong. 5.
Really?
You would have never known. It's so whimsical. No, not because of the drop downs. Because this is a whimsical tool. Let's take a look at.
I know what it does.
Prove it. What does it do?
It's a combination of everything. So you could grab with it, you could trim with it, you could select with it, you could cut with it, you could do everything. It's all in one, so you don't have to click off of it.
Okay, that was a great answer. The smart tool is every tool pretty much in one and then some. How do I, if I want to make it the selector tool, tell me how I make it the selector tool. No, right now it's the hand tool. So why? Julian,
You gotta go above that.
you need to be above the center line of the waveform. The center line is 0. Do we remember that?
Yes.
So we go above the center line, and it turned into the what tool, Julian, in the back? The selector tool. Julian in the front. How do we make it the grabber tool?
You need to be on the lines or the edges of the.
How do I make it the grabber tool? Janessa.
Needs to be below the line.
You need to be below the center line of the
Oh, I
waveform.
didn't mean center. I meant the edges.
And it comes down to be the grabber tool. The grabber's below. The selector's above. Pretty easy to navigate. How do I make it the trim tool, Julian, in the front?
I don't know that one.
Julian in the back.
You go to the end of the wave.
Look at this. Watch this, party people. If I go to the edge of the waveform, oh my God, it turned into the trimmer tool. So like right down here, I could select that snare drum. I could move it if I want to. How do I, oh, I can go right to the edge there and it turned into the trimmer tool. But right now it's the selector tool. And down here it's the grabber tool.
That
So-
is actually really cool. I like that.
The smart tool lets you do everything in one without having to maybe go up to the top here and select something and then go here and get rid of the end and then go here to move it. It's a lot of unnecessary movement. So the smart tool lets us do all of that. Julian.
I know what the fourth one is. You can also fade.
Yes. Are you guys all in your edit window? I'm not sure what session you have open, but if you're in the Bob Marley song, I'm going to go down to the vocals here on the Bob Marley track. And I'm going to show you the awesome power right here. Since we're making a video recording, I'm going to show you the awesome power of the smart tool. Here is Bob Marley's vocals right here. I may say I want to go right there and just get rid of that, get rid of this, and get rid of this very quickly. Now I'm going to go in here more, and I'm going to use the trimmer tool to trim up my edges. And I'll go in here and make a selector tool. I'll go here to trim up my edge. I'll go here to trim up my edge and my edge. Now I may move this vocal closer. Would I in real life? No, but for this lesson, am I? Yes. And now I have 3 vocal parts right here. Now what I want to do is I want to fade this one in. So look at this, party people, to the top left. Top left, it just turned into a what?
Into a half shaded box.
It's a fade. So now the vocals can fade in. If I go to the end of the waveforms, what does it turn into? Fade out. Guys, when I am clicking on the audio regions, am I at the top or the bottom?
The top.
I'm at the top corner and I'm getting what? If I'm at the top corner of these audio regions, I can make what's? It's okay. Yes, if I'm at the top corners of these waveforms with the smart tool, I can do what, Kenny? I can make what's? Fade ins and fade outs.
So left is fade in, right is fade out.
Correct. What if I had 2 waveforms next to each other right here? And let's get really critical. Do we see right here how there is 2 waveforms on this track right here? Do you see these 2 waveforms? Let's really zoom in and see if there's a problem here. Oh my gosh, you see how the waveforms don't match up perfectly? That's bad for the speaker. So what can I add there? What?
Use the pencil.
I'm going to go to the bottom of this waveform and add a what?
Oh,
What?
fade in, fade out.
A cross
Fader.
fade. A crossfade. So now I don't hear that problem sound. I've heard ticks and pops in a lot of recordings. People don't fade in, fade out, or crossfade when you guys are punching in on your vocals. Let's punch in that part. Let's punch in that part. Let's punch out that part. Punch in, punch out, punch in, punch out. The sound waves are not lining up. You have to put crossfades in there. Very cool. Let me zoom out and do that one more time. With my smart tool, I can take a Bob Marley vocal and I can highlight certain areas. I'll get to your question one sec. I can highlight certain areas. I can hit delete. I can move regions next to each other. I can fade in. I can crossfade at the bottoms, and I can fade out at the tops. That smart tool gave me 5 incredible tools in one. Just being able to do that stuff for people is what people pay Pro Tools engineers and operators to do in studios all day long. Clean these vocals, clean these guitar parts. That's it. Morgan, you had a question.
So how do you get fade in and then fade out? Like what corner?
We have to have the smart tool. And how do we get fade ins and fade outs? At the tops of the audio regions.
So is it left for fade in?
Yes. It sounds stupid, but clearly it would be fade in. You wouldn't want to fade out at the beginning of a track, because the sound is coming in. It's being introduced. How do we do the crossfades? They are located where? Bless you. Janessa. Okay, let's write it like this. A crossfade is available at the bottom of 2 adjacent audio regions. Everybody feel comfortable with that? Great. Anybody have any questions with those? Let's look at a few more things. We'll add this right here. Watch these tools right here. Here's your zoom in and zoom out. Come on. Do we need zoom in and zoom out anymore? You guys don't need it because what do you guys have? Command brackets. Does anybody know how to go this way with the audio? It's a shortcut.
Command option.
Awesome job. Command bracket zooms in and out. Command option bracket zooms in on waveforms.
Can't you do each individual one by the dB thing? The principal thing above?
No, that's just like recorded gain level.
Okay, so that's the work. I have a question. On my laptop, if I just hit R or T, it zooms in and out. Is that like on all keyboards?
If you have R and T, this button right here is turned on. It's called keyboard focus.
Okay.
How did you find those out?
Oh, I just hit every button to see what they did.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not a bad idea because you could always do what?
That.
Or revert to save.
You could experiment with everything you want and then revert to save and nothing will have been saved.
Like I figured out how to come up with that.
So, yeah, that was great. You sidetracked my focus a little bit. Oh, right. Command and brackets were to zoom in and zoom out. Command option bracket lets us zoom in and zoom out vertically. These ones right here, are they going to be important? If you're going to keep doing recordings and commercials and projects, these 4 are going to be important for you. I'm not going to spend too much time on them now, but you need to know a little bit about them. These are your edit modes, as these are your edit tools. These up here are your editing tools for Pro Tools. These are called your edit modes over here.
So it's just those are just called edit modes.
You have your editing tools over there, and then these are your edit modes. They work together. The editing modes is just telling you how and where you're moving the audio. So we are in slip mode. The edit modes, the first one we can talk about is slip. And what it means is we can put audio anywhere we want. We can move audio anywhere we want. Was that easy?
Yeah.
You tell me, was that easy?
Yeah.
Very easy. We have spot mode, which you will probably never use. Spot mode. When you click on it, and you click on a waveform, it's going to say, where do you want to put it? When is this good? For other types of productions, not really for your music production. Maybe for radio jingles and commercials, movie stuff like that is a lot easier for you to move around. When is it also easy for you to move around? If this was at the first chorus and it started at measure 13, and I wanted it to start at the second chorus, which started at measure 26, I could take the lyrics from the first chorus and just move them to the second chorus, measure 26. That is a somewhat productive tool for you guys. But you are primarily going to work in slip. Grid. Grid mode is something that we use. I don't want to over-explain these or make it too hard. So grid is something we use when we're making song productions in Pro Tools. It works off of like our bars and beats, and it would let us move a waveform exactly to the bars and beats. Currently, you can see here's measure, let's say measure 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, measure 13, 2, 3, 4, measure 14, 2, 3, 4. So grid mode lets us move things like if we were going to do a kick or a snare or a vocal part or a guitar part. It lets us move it measure by measure, quarter note by quarter note, first verse to second verse, things of that nature. It lets you move it to the grid. The song is laid out or recorded to a grid, the tempo. And shuffle mode is the last mode that I do use sometimes. But shuffle mode just lets you put waveforms right next to each other. It doesn't let you overlap them. And if I wanted to move this waveform to the second area there, see it just shuffled the order. It did not make any gaps of audio. I'm really interested to hear what this Bob Marley vocal sounds like right now.
I wanna love you, I wanna love you, and treat you right.
Perfect. Even if I moved it to the first one.
And treat you right. I wanna love you, I wanna love you.
Be really interested to hear what it sounds like with the song. Okay, makes no sense in the song. So let's go back and just review these 4 shuffle modes. There's not much to them, except for talking about it and explaining when they would work best for us. Which one would we use almost most often? Morgan.
Slip.
Why is slip great? Morgan.
Because you can put the audio anywhere.
Because we can move the audio anywhere. That might be a problem if we want to keep everything in time. So if we want to move things in time to the song tempo or something, what edit mode might we use? Kyle.
Shuffle.
Not shuffle. Try Hannah. Grid. Grid would let us move things on quarter note beats or whatever we determine our grid to be, which we will get into in the future. But it'll keep it consistent, locked in time. So slip is primarily what we'll use, and sometimes grid. What happens with spot? If Kyle, go ahead.
No.
Janessa.
I said that it allows you to move it to like an exact location, like you can punch in the number where you want it.
What comes up on the screen if I'm in spot and I click on this waveform?
A box comes up and it wants specific details.
Yeah, if I'm in spot mode and I click on a waveform, a dialog box appears and then it lets you put it wherever you want. If we knew at the end of a car commercial it was going to be like 3.6 APR financing, 36 months, $2,000 down. And we knew it was 5 seconds long and the commercial was 30 seconds. We could decide we wanted to put that right at 25 seconds. That may be an example of when I would use spot dialogue. Or if I had a vocal for a first chorus and I wanted it to start at the second chorus, I could move it from measure 14 to measure 26. And what does shuffle do? What does shuffle do? That's kind of different than the other ones. Hannah.
It lets you put waveforms right next to each other and it doesn't let you overlap them.
It lets them go right next to each other without overlapping. Literally right next to each other without overlapping. And what if I tried to move this waveform, 1 of 3, to the beginning? What did it just do? It just switched places, or one of the few times when you can use the word to define the word, it just shuffled the order. It rearranged the order. Sometimes they may want to say, no money down, 36 months financing, 6.9 APR financing. Or they might go, we said financing twice. So they may just want to shuffle the words around. 6.9% financing, 2,000 down, 36 months financing. Like they may just move things around with shuffle mode. Okay. I'm going to let you play for a few minutes. And I think we'll pick up from there. Was that okay for you guys? Quick time. Bye.